The Housing and Community Development Committee will now come to order. We'll begin by taking up item number 1. Can you please read it into the record?
Michael Keck, CLA's office. Item number 1, communication from the mayor and CAO report relative to the acceptance of a grant in the award amount of $205,720,000 from the Los Angeles County Probation Department for the period July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2013 to support the Young Women from Adversity to Resiliency program and the acceptance of a grant award of $50,000 from the U.S. Department of Justice under the fiscal year 2011 Second Chance Act Juvenile Offender Reentry Program for planning and demonstration projects, authority to negotiate and execute the related grant agreements and related actions.
Okay. Colleagues, if there's no questions, I would recommend we approve the CAO report. Any questions, colleagues? Okay. And public comment, there are no public comment cards before us on this item. Public comment is now open. Seeing no one fill out a card or come forward, public comment on item number 1 is now closed. So with that, this committee approves the CAO report. Item number 2, please.
I'm sorry.
Item number 2.
Item number 2, communications from the mayor relative to the appointment of Mark Little to the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles Board of Commissioners for the term ending June 6, 2017.
Okay. Colleagues, it appears that Mr. Little has withdrawn his name from consideration. So with that, we'll receive and file. Yes.
Why did he withdraw?
What's that? All we know is that he personally withdrew. Don't know the reason.
Faithful Central. He's, that's,
Not sure.
I
Okay.
think that's what it is. That's too bad.
Okay.
He's very talented.
All right. Can't serve unless they
Yeah.
they
No,
want to
you're right.
continue to serve.
Yeah,
So.
no, you're right. You're right.
Okay. So with that, we'll receive and file this item. Next, we'll go to item number 4.
Item number 4, motion Rosenthal Zine relative to authorization to allocate $50,000 from the Channel Gateway Venice Affordable Housing Offsite and Community Involvement Trust Fund to support the efforts of people organized for Westside Renewal to advocate for affordable housing in the Venice Community Plan area and related actions.
Okay. Unless there's any questions on this item, colleagues, I'll move to adopt the item. Okay. That's item deemed approved. Okay. Now, the next item, this should go
Councilman?
quickly, is 5. Item number 5.
Item number 4.
I'm sorry, item number 4? What's that?
Did you want to have a public hearing on item number 4?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. On item number 4, before we go to the next item, I do not have any public comment cards on item number 4. Is there anybody here to speak on item number 4? Okay, seeing and hearing nobody come forward, item number 4, public comment is now closed. With that, this committee, we move to adopt the motion, and that item is approved. Thank you. Now we go to item number 5.
Item number 5, LHD and CAO report and ordinance. LHD report, City Attorney report and ordinance, and CAO report relative to approval of the ordinance authorizing the sale and various related actions for the disposition of city-owned property located at 252 South Rampart Boulevard in Los Angeles, California.
Okay. CAO, you have anything to report on the report or any technical changes?
Tyler Munhall, CAO. Just the recommendation needs to be changed so that the last part of the last sentence is deleted, starting at subject to approval. It's not subject to approval by the state, so because the city already owns the property.
It's good. Yes, Mr. Reyes.
Do we know what the position or the opinion of the council office is on this property? Is there any input from the council office?
The department is, I would defer to the department on that.
CD 13.
Manuel Bernal, the Housing Department, City of LA.
David Zaitz, Housing Department.
Yes, the role of the council office, what's their position in this transference?
My understanding is at the time of application, they had to have a letter of support from the council office.
There is support?
Yes.
Okay.
Any more questions from the committee? Move the item? Okay, so we move the amended CO report. Public comment? I do not have any public comment cards on item number 5. Is anybody here for public comment on item number 5? Seeing no one come forward, there are no public comment cards on item number 5 that have been filled out. So therefore, we close public comment and we'll adopt the amended CO report and the recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now go to item number 3.
Item number 3, motion Carnes Weezar and Los Angeles Housing Department, Community Development Department, CAO, CLA to report with the assistance of the city clerk and city attorney relative to review of the tax-exempt financing policies, existing joint powers agreements, and Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1982 hearing process, comparison of the cost, fees, and time associated with financing issuances by the city versus other issuers, and recommendations to the council to update the policies, if necessary, to streamline and coordinate the TEFRA hearing process to ensure policy compliance and timeliness.
Okay, thank you very much. So we can keep this brief. Apparently, we do not have the written report yet, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and can you expect that you will have the written report by next Wednesday?
Yes.
The 12th? Okay, so with that, colleagues, I'm going to recommend that we put this item over until the 12th, but before we do so, I want to make sure that we have in that report that we're going to have detailed, specific, comparative, the timelines and cost of going through the city versus outside agencies when it comes to these activities. Okay.
That will be included in the report.
Okay, wonderful. Any more questions? We're putting this item over to next week when we have the written reports.
Great.
Okay, so with that, we will put this item over till the 12th, which is next Wednesday, the next time this committee will be gathering. Okay, so with that, we move now to item number 6.
Item number 6, motion Carnes Perry relative to amending the rent stabilization ordinance to include a graduated vacancy formula based upon the length of tenancy for calculation of rents and new residents purchasing homes in mobile home parks.
Okay. Just so you know, this is the item that we have the most cards filled out. I have spoken to the maker of the motion, which is the seconder of the motion, Ms. Perry, and we have, with the activity that has come about on this motion, what we'd like to do is we'd like to refer this to the City Mobile Home Park Task Force in order for the parties to get together and discuss what changes may or may not be made to the process here in the City of Los Angeles, and that we recommend that LA Housing Department bring back a report from the task force within 60 days to this committee. Housing Department, is that timeline workable? I know we have the holidays coming and stuff, so, okay. So basically, to the beginning of February, we will get not only a report from the Housing Department, but feedback from the task force as well. So with that, any questions at this time?
Question I have, would you read the names of the people who showed up today into the record?
Yeah,
So-
what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'd like to give, and let me clarify, we have about 8 or 9 cards. Yes, but you need to put a card in to speak on this item, so you need to hurry up and do that. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Reyes.
Just so that we can have a comprehensive overview, we can also include the mobile home consultant study that was administered by the Housing Department some time ago, and fold those results into the report. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Appreciate it, Councilmember Reyes. So those of you who filled out a card, in 60 days when the report comes back, this will be before you. No action on this item is going to be taken today, so no changes will take place today. No actions will be taken today. The only action is that the committee is going to be asking the department to come back with the report and that the task force convene, whether it be once or twice or 5 times between now and then, so that they can discuss amongst the stakeholders what they would or would not like to see as changes. So with that, out of a courtesy of the people who took the time to come today, being that no action of changes are going to take place today, what I'm going to ask is that the clerk put 30 seconds for you to introduce yourself. If you choose to, you do not have to come up and speak. If you think you're available in 60 days to come back when we finally see what actions are going to be recommended by the department and the feedback from the community and the task force. So with that, without objection, I'll call the names as they've been submitted. Norman Kula, and if you can come up as I call your name, David Evans, John McDonald, and Ed Biggs. I assume that's what it says. You can begin since you're the first one sitting down. Your name, please.
Excuse me, Norman Cullen on behalf of Councilman Bill Rosendahl, and in light of the
30 seconds.
yeah, in light of the chair's comments, we'll await the report. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
David Evans with the Western Manufactured Housing Communities Association. I represent mobile home park owners, and we support the concept of referring the motion to the Mobile Home Park Task Force, and we'll defer on any comments that we were going to make. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
John McDonald, owner of Tahitian Terrace Mobile Home Park, and I support this being referred to the task force and reserve comment for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
My name is Ed Biggs, owner of Pacific Palisades Mobile Estates, and I support the motion to send it to the task force. And no comments at this time. I'll wait later. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Biggs. The next group of people who filled out cards, Mary Jo Baratich, sorry if I said it wrong, Ruben Holland, Josephine Kidd, and Cynthia Kuza. Come on up.
All right.
State your name.
Okay, my name is Mary Jo Baratich, and I am the Zone Vice President for the Golden State Manufacturers Homeowners League, statewide organization, and we are opposed to this motion as stated, and yes, I would like to see it go to the task force, but in turn, we have a lot of reasons why we are opposed to this.
Okay,
So,
all right.
thank you.
So hopefully some of them will be smoothed out with the convening of the committee.
Yeah, you had these. This
You're welcome to submit those to the committee at this time.
is from the corporate counsel of Bruce Stanton.
Okay, thank you. State your name.
My name is Robin Holland. I'm past president of the Tahitian Terrace Residents Association and representative to GSMOL. I am opposed to this, and I do have some handouts that I will give you all.
Please.
And I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the votes that you've given us in the past that have been exactly helpful.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And please submit that information. Yes, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Kuza. I'm a homeowner in Tahitian Terrace Mobile Home Park, and I do want to thank you very much for your support of our interest in the Supreme Court decision on the Mello Act and in the previous attempts by the state to pass the end of rent control in mobile home parks, the unanimous decision by City Council against AB 761. I thank you very much for your consideration in passing this on to the Mobile Home Task Force, and as you can tell, I am opposed to the motion.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kuza. Go ahead.
My name is Josephine Kidd, and I'm here to thank you also for the support that you have given to the mobile home owners. I am the longest resident in Tahitian Terrace. I moved there 46 years ago, the day before I started teaching at Santa Monica College as a professor. Now I am Professor Emeritus, and I would like to thank you for getting this to a task force where they can really read between the lines and the fine print, because being an educator, you know, we're used to papers and we're used to grading them. So I hope the task force will do the same. So thank you very, very much.
Point. Thank you. Next, we have Robin Holland. Please come up.
I've been here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for asking me
Fill
again.
out Well, thank you for filling out 2 cards. And your honesty. Clinton Lay, Marlene Blackwell. Sorry. Okay, you got it, Marlene, thank you. Valerie Montoya. Okay, go ahead, Clinton.
Good morning. Thanks for seeing us today. I am the owner of Monte Vista Mobile Home Park, and I'm also the owner of Let's Frame Management. We operate mobile home parks in California. I've been on the task force since its inception. I'm glad we're sending it back there, and I'll be working with Valerie and several of the other people here to try to resolve any issues, and look forward to talking to you guys in 60 days.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Valerie?
Hi, my name is Valerie Montoya. I'm a representative of the Mobile Home Task Force, and also I am an associate for GSMOL, which is Golden State Manufactured Homeowners League, that represent the mobile home owners throughout the state. And also, I'm glad this is being referred back to the task force. I've been emailing Ms. Anna Ortega and asking why wasn't this heard before the task force? What is this? So anyways, I'm glad it's being referred back to the task force for discussion. Also, I did bring some handouts, and I also had emailed all of the council members except for 2, and I apologize for that. I was really tired the other night. So I'm sorry, Mr. Cardenas, I didn't get you one, and Mr. Wesson, I didn't, one of the other council members. So I have that for you today, and I am very much opposed to the motion, and if you will read what I'm going to hand out to everyone, I would really appreciate it. You will get a feel for the mobile homeowners.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for getting that to me right away, because I don't know how long I'll be reading that material, as I'll be given other material to read soon. So with that, members, what we'll do, the action of this committee is to refer this to the city's mobile home park task force, so that they can roll up their sleeves and have some hopefully good and positive discussions about what changes may or may not be acceptable to all the parties, interested parties. In addition to that, we'll recommend that the LA Housing Department bring back a report from the task force within 60 days to this committee. Okay, thank you. And, so with that, we now go to item number 7.
Item number 7, LHD report and CAO-CLA report relative to the transition of housing assets and functions of the former Community Redevelopment Agency of Los Angeles to the Los Angeles Housing Department, authorization for execution of the transfer agreement between the city and the CRA-LA, a designated local authority, authorization of 16 additional position authorities, and authorization of contracts, a request for proposal, and amendments of various existing contracts and the furtherance and the implementation of the transfer agreement.
Okay, thank you. We have the Housing Department, CAO, and CLA come forward.
Good morning.
Okay, please give us your report.
Good morning. Shafia Mir from the Office of the CAO. I will cover the general background and the overview of the report. The Community Redevelopment Agency Los Angeles was dissolved effective February 1st, 2012, and the city elected to become the successor agency for CRA's housing functions and assets, which are to be transferred to the Los Angeles Housing Department, LAHD. LAHD released a report on November 9th, 2012, regarding the transition of the housing asset and functions from former CRA to LAHD. The joint CAO-CLA report before you today addresses 2 key elements of LAHD's report, the housing asset list and the housing asset and functions transfer agreement. We request council approval of the housing asset transfer agreement and authority for LAHD to execute the agreement with CRA-LA once the State Department of Finance has approved the agreement. In addition, we request for LAHD to report to the council and mayor if the oversight board of the CRA makes any substantial changes to the housing transfer agreement. The housing transfer agreement attached to our report was negotiated between CRA-LA and LAHD, including the city's outside legal counsel on CRA dissolution matters. The agreement provides the parameters of which and when various housing assets and functions will transfer from the CRA to LAHD. The CRA-LA Governing Board approved the housing transfer agreement, and once approved by council and mayor, CRA staff will move the agreement to the next level of their approval process, which is the Oversight Board. All decisions of the Oversight Board are subject to review by the State Department of Finance. Per our recommendation in the report, the agreement will not be executed until Department of Finance approval is obtained. LAHD is currently in a meet and confer process with Department of Finance regarding final approval of the housing asset list, and LAHD anticipates Department of Finance approval by late January 2013. The transfer of the housing assets and functions won't be effective until Department of Finance has approved both the housing asset list and the transfer agreement. So that's our general overview. If you have any questions.
Any questions? Yes. Ms. Perry.
A couple of questions. As we go through the dissolution of CRA, and I'm concerned about additional property tax generated without having a plan in place to take the money that is generated from the disposition of assets and to put it back into the communities that are blighted, where it was generated from. And I know there's an ad hoc committee addressing this issue, but I wanted to put it on the table that the property tax funds generated from dissolution should be retained for utilization in underserved areas. If I need to make a motion to formalize that, maybe that would make it clear that that's my intention. I don't know if that would be helpful to you or not. What do you think?
Well, regarding the properties disposition under CRA-LA, they will, just as a background, they will go into, for their disposition, they will go into the long-range asset management plan, which is part of the dissolution legislation, and that will be up to CRA-LA. I guess from the city's perspective, I don't know if Russia wanted to add something to it. It could be more of like an advisory type of action.
Okay, well, why don't I see if we can generate something, because I am concerned, even if it goes into the long range.
Right. Councilwoman, if I may get clarification, because there are 67 parcels of land right now that are contemplated to be transferred to the city. That's part of the overall housing asset list that's currently with the Department of Finance for review. In addition to that, there'll be a small amount of money derived from the loan payments on residual receipt payments as well as bond administrative fees. Most of that money will be going towards administrative support of the loan portfolio management, occupancy monitoring, the accounting functions, systems functions to be able to support the existing 23,000 affordable housing units that are in existence. As it relates to property tax, I mean, if that's what you're asking, that's a whole separate discussion, because as of February 1st, with the elimination of the redevelopment agencies, any monies that were previously within a redevelopment area, unless there's an obligation to an existing contract for housing, they have been swept or will be swept for the taxing entities, and the city will receive approximately 30% on the dollar as being a taxing entity through the county. So I'm not certain of answering your question. I'm not sure.
Ms. Perry, you're referring to whatever money comes back to the city, because it passes through that entity and then a portion back to us, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that it doesn't get dumped into one pool and then allocated away from,
Well, the department would be very supportive of that. The department would be very supportive of that with the reduction in home entitlements and the elimination of approximately $50 million a year in affordable housing. Certainly, the city needs whatever resources it has for the continued creation of affordable housing.
Michael Caxile's office. We are expecting some funds to come over as part of the dissolution of low-mod income housing fund. We'll get about a third of whatever is dissolved and distributed to the taxing entities, and we're hoping to address that action or that issue in the next report coming forward on 12/12 in HCED. And then, just to reiterate, one of the things that we wanted to do was that the LHD report dated November 9th addresses certain fund position or funding transfers and also position requests. We were looking to bifurcate the two reports. So we're coming forward with just the housing transfer agreement right now, and then for the HCD committee on 12/12, we'll be addressing some of the larger budget issues and the personnel issues, and to allow for additional discussion in PAWS and personally and possibly the Budget and Finance Committee.
Also, Ms. Perry, The council president has appointed an ad hoc committee on this matter, and it's my understanding that you're on it, correct? You and I are two of the members on it. So that being the case, we plan on having a meeting of that ad hoc next Wednesday, the 12th, as well, aside from the HCED committee. So you're welcome to give instructions today and/or do it in the ad hoc committee.
Yeah, put it together and write.
Okay, all right. And I'm definitely supportive of the intent, and that's one of the main things why we want to have this ad hoc committee, so that we can actually go through the policy of how we as a city can choose on our own to have our own, not an authority per se, but direction and directives of what will happen to those monies and whether or not we're dedicated to putting them in the areas that we have been focusing on in the past. Mr. Ray?
When I look at this report, you have the November 14th report, and you have a listing on attachment 1. Then on the December 4th report, you have enumeration through bullets of a range of assets from housing units, affordable housing covenants. On the December 4th report, is there a breakdown of where these particular properties and/or issues are identified within every council?
Well, I don't know if it's in the report, but certainly the Housing Department and the city has that information by council district and former redevelopment area.
I would, Mercedes Marquez, I guess I would say that right now what we have is a list that is being considered by the state. I want to, unfortunately, have more of a sober note, because the way it's gone thus far, the Department of Finance is disapproving a substantial percentage of anything that is on any list. So I would want to wait for a fuller assessment of policy and dollars and opportunity until we have gone through the process of what the state approves, the meet and confers, because my sense is that in the end, the way a lot of this will have to be considered is that what's left of the dollars that come forward as income, it's going to be more of a preservation program. There's the amount of dollars coming forward may be much more reduced than we would like. And so of 67 properties that are currently on the list, the ability of the records of the CRA to actually prove intent about a housing need and a housing policy, I just want to warn us that it could be significantly less than 67 properties that come back. When we talk about that, and then we talk about program income that could be derived from that, it may also be that if we're not careful, and while I absolutely understand the interest and the intent to want to make sure that communities that generated the income continue to receive it, once we get a sense of what's left, it may be that if we put ourselves in narrow lanes, that we won't have enough money anywhere for anybody to do anything. So it may be that we have to have a different kind of a discussion about how all that works, a completely open discussion, but I want to make sure that we tell you up front that it will require that, or we could make sure that nobody gets anything, because it may be that what we need are a lot of collaborative understandings and policies that cascade in order to build anything.
Ms. Mercedes, so in a nutshell, we are going to have much less dollars to work with, and certainly not even close to addressing the needs that we have already identified that we would love to address.
Not even close. And one of the things that I have been doing in the last several months on behalf of the mayor is going up to Sacramento. I've been there now 4 times in the last 2 months to discuss what this is, to try to give us a path to use our dollars in the most open way. That would lead to legislative discussion. It'll, completely open, but it has not been easy, as some of our friends in legal services community are also involved, and they have very specific views about what to do with little bits of money. And so I've been pushing for a much more open way to look at this so that we can get as much as we can. The other thing is that some of the foundational stones in policy that could be laid through a legislative process in the state in this next year would also be helpful as we start to think about what comes next, right? And my sense that it is important to put to bed as much of the redevelopment process as we can, as quickly as we can, so that we can start talking about the future as quickly as we can. So it's complicated, but Councilman, absolutely, the projections are not anywhere near what we wish they were.
Let me just ask this question then. From a bigger picture point of view, when they took over all our assets and they started looking at the numbers and funds that they were basically pulling away from us, obviously they wanted everything, and it looks like they're going after everything. Is the approach now how we begin anew? Do we have to accept the fact that everything is gone?
I think we're going through the meet and confer process, but I will tell you that the way that this legislation reads, even the cleanup legislation, the amount of authority placed in the Department of Finance with no appeal rights is fairly absolute. So it is, and we're not being, from what I can see, we're not being treated any less fairly than anyone else in the state is being treated, and it is in fact as much of a sweep, and the legislation that was passed by the state is incredibly broad. So, it's not optimistic, and that is why I'm trying to get this to bed with you all as soon as we can, so we can start talking about next. And you'll see as we discuss in another item later on the consolidated plan where that is hitting us as well. I mean, it's cascading everywhere. So the rest of the conversation will be more about this.
Anything else, Ms. Perry? No. Okay. All right, thank you for that dismal report. So with that, the committee will move to approve the CLA-CO report recommendations and request that this report be scheduled for the City Council agenda on or before December 12th. Also, we'll request that the CLA-CAO to report to HCD committee on December 12th with the recommendation on LA Housing Department's request for additional staffing and resources needed to absorb and manage the housing assets and functions to be transferred to the LA Housing Department. Okay? So before we take that action, there are no public comment cards on item number 7. Anybody here for item number 7, public comment? See no one come forward. There are no public comment cards before us on item number 7. Public comment on item number 7 is now closed. So with that, as I stated, that'll be the action of the committee. Okay. Our last item on the agenda is item number 8. Please read that item.
Item number 8, continued from the November 14, 2012 HCD committee meeting. Communication from the mayor relative to the 39th program year of the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan, 5th year action plan.
Ms. Mercedes? Welcome back from D.C. Any advice you have for me, we can talk about that offline.
I would be happy to.
I did buy a heavy coat. I don't know if it's the right kind, but I did get one.
I will tell you that when we went to Washington, I didn't tell my wife. It was on a need-to-know basis. She thought she had a winter coat. And in about October, I said, time to go shopping.
Yeah. So we plan on doing some of that in the next couple of weeks. So do we have a clear sense of timing on our legitimate claims from the CRA to pay back the CDD?
Where we are on this particular comp plan year is, we know that in 2010 we hit a high of 168.6 million. We have since then lost 25%. I look forward to the help you can give us on that in the future.
Absolutely.
And this year we are particularly hit because of what I was just discussing, what's going on with the Department of Finance, with what it is that the redevelopment agency owed to both LHD and CDD, which has been denied by the Department of Finance. So about 3 weeks ago, the Department of Finance denied a $16 million claim that we had on a loan payback from CRA to a combination of LHD and CDD. That was denied. We are now in the meet and confer, and we'll see. We expect to hear by December 17th. That is their deadline to get back to us. I can't tell you that I'm optimistic about that. If it continues in that in that, guys, and we do not receive an approval for the $16 million payback, that means that in this coming con plan year, our 39th year, we would actually be looking at 27% cut from last year. It is, I know that for many years, the talk always is of constraint and how difficult it is, and whether we have reached the point yet where we are absolutely against the wall. If we do not receive a complete turnaround from the Department of Finance on that $16 million, we have reached that year this year. And we will have to make some very serious decisions about it. I feel, though, that in this year we have approached the next 5 years in a very responsible way. It has always been our way of process that the Community Development Department took the first crack, then it went to the Mayor's office, they took the next view, and then it went to the City Council. What we have done this year is on the Mayor's side and the Executive side, collapsed that, and we've worked in a collaborative way. So that this year, the Department of Housing, CDD, LASA, HACLA, the Planning Department, and the Bureau of Engineering have all worked openly in a transparent fashion together to map, to understand. We have done briefings with your staffs. I'm making the rounds. In fact, I've met with all of your offices already about where we think we are, and we're attempting to do what is very important, and that is when you have dollars that are so diminished, to target and understand that innovation is the crossroad of need and opportunity. For our city, there's no question that our huge opportunity is on the transit system, both BRT main bus lines and light rail. We view them equally. We have mapped them, and we are now showing everyone what our best opportunity is across agencies to get as much done as possible. I have discussed with many already that it may be possible for this year only, to discuss a freeze on the economic development side as we try to maintain systems, because it is so bad. And you will begin to see in a very open way from the Mayor's office the breakdowns of all the option scenarios. If we do this, this is what has to be cut. If we do this, this is what has to be cut. So that we can all have a very full, open discussion of where we are. Why we're talking with everyone now is so that we don't have this situation of the cascading down, but instead openly everybody seeing where it is from the very beginning, so that we get the best design we can for this 1 year as we then decide what we do for the next 5.
Any questions, members? No? It's all been a good news day.
Yeah, it's a big day.
Well, let me just make one point. The observations you're making and the recommendations that you're putting forward from the Mayor's office are just that, the recommendation.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Mercedes. So with that, colleagues, we will note and file the communication and request that the mayor work with the CLA, the CAO, and the city clerk to schedule the mayor's proposed con plan and 39th plan year action plan by January 2nd. Is a significant day for me, because that's the last plan I'll see. I won't be able to do anything with it, but the last plan I'll see. But with all due respect, I do plan on being engaged in Washington and giving the local government perspective and how critical this is to the community as a whole, but certainly to our most needy communities throughout, not only throughout the city, but throughout the country. And it's unfortunate that we hear certain people on certain sides of the aisle that they would like to eliminate or decimate completely or darn near completely these critical dollars that too many people don't understand how valuable and how precious these dollars are to our communities. Mercedes?
I want to say that the things that has concerned me the most recently about the federal budget side is as a result of the storms in the East Coast. Last year, we were up on CDBG, and when we were hit with the storms in Virginia and Vermont, $400 million was moved from the national CDBG account to the sideline item on disaster relief in CDBG. So right now is a very tender time, and the discussion that they're having, that we even read about this morning, about not looking at the Sandy money, right, as just one item, right, but expanding the discussion is very, very important, because the rest of the country could really suffer because of that. And finally, sir, I wanted to express my congratulations to you and let you know if there's any way that I can be helpful with friends that I continue to have for briefings or information that you might need, I'd be more than happy.
Thank you. I think, I appreciate that. I'll take you up on it. That'll serve Los Angeles well, and hopefully it'll allow me to get up to speed as quickly as possible about the environment that I'm going to be in. As cold as it is going to be, certainly will take all the help I can get. So thank you very, very much. And, the example you just gave about the $400 million is exactly about robbing Peter to pay Paul. But then again, Peter and Paul are both needy. Instead of looking elsewhere within federal budgets, it's unfortunate that some people feel that we need to confine need-based funding and attack that funding whenever there's other needs. Even in a disaster, you would think that they would find money elsewhere and perhaps impact, or not, other budgets, but to directly impact the most needy communities with an urgency matter is something that hopefully we can change. Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, that's the action on item number 8, as I read earlier. Yes?
Public hearing on this one?
Yes, public comment on item number 8. Is anybody here for public comment on item number 8? I do not see any public comment cards on item number 8 before me. Seeing no one come forward on public comment item number 8, public comment on item number 8 is now closed. So with that, we've now gone through all the scheduled items on the agenda. That leaves time for general public comment to this committee. Is anybody here for general public comment? Seeing and hearing none, general public comment is now closed. Mr. Reyes.
Yes, so how many more meetings do we actually have with you here?
With me, unless we have an urgency one between now and the end of the year, it will be on the 12th, the last scheduled one.
Okay.
The 12th.
We'll save our last hurrahs then.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. With that, this committee is now adjourned.